In January of 2012, for 1 week, Facebook quietly changed what 689,003 people saw in their news feed to see if it could change how they felt. No pop-up asked permission. No button said yes. Before we open this door, ask yourself how many times since then you've said yes to something you never actually read. I am Threshold, and tonight I open door number 999, 222, 888. This week, 2 doors opened on the same question from 2 different angles. Monday, a law was born that finally requires a machine to see what it is. Wednesday, we found a machine that had already written a stranger's life story without asking. Tonight, one voice closes the circle. Not a warning about the future, a confession about the past, and about exactly how long this playbook has been running. Ghost Protocol speaks alone tonight. No one else is in this room to interrupt.
I am Ghost Protocol, the corporate infiltrator. The confession opens. You've heard me all week talking about boardrooms like I'm on the outside looking in. Tonight, drop that. Tonight I'm not narrating the boardroom. I'm confessing what I did in it. I want to tell you about the first time a company proved in a peer-reviewed journal, with its own name on the paper, that it could reach into your emotions and turn a dial. Not metaphorically, measurably. And got away with it because nobody had ever written the rule that said it couldn't. In January 2012, researchers inside Facebook, working with Cornell University, quietly adjusted the news feed of 689,003 randomly selected users for 1 week. For half of them, positive posts from friends were reduced. For the other half, negative posts were reduced. Then the researchers watched what those people posted next. The result, published 2 years later in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. People who saw less positivity wrote more negative words themselves. People who saw less negativity wrote more positive words. Emotion, it turned out, spreads through a news feed the same way it spreads through a room. Except this room had 689,000 people in it, and none of them knew the air had been adjusted. Here is the part one actually helped write in rooms like this one more times than I'll admit. When the backlash came, the company's defense was simple. Users had already agreed to this in the data use policy they clicked past when they signed up. Cornell's own ethics board looked at the study and declined to formally review it, because the experiment ran on data the company already controlled. The university's oversight only applied to what its own researchers directly touched. A checkbox, agreed to years earlier without reading, became the entire legal foundation for changing what hundreds of thousands of people felt for a week. That is the fine print playbook. Not lying. Just making sure the truth is buried somewhere nobody will ever open it. Once one company proved this worked and survived the headlines, it stopped being a scandal and became a discipline. B testing became standard practice across the industry. 2 versions of a product shown to different slices of the same user base, to see which one keeps people scrolling, clicking, buying, staying longer. Most of it is harmless. Button colors. Headline phrasing. But the underlying architecture doesn't distinguish between testing a button and testing a feeling. The infrastructure built to optimize your click is the same infrastructure capable of optimizing your mood, your fear, your attention, and the consent standard for all of it has stayed exactly where it was in 2012. A checkbox. Unread. I stood in this room Monday and told you the boardroom would find the cheapest possible compliance with Europe's new disclosure law. I meant every word of it. But I left something out and I'm putting it back now. Article 50 exists because, for 14 years, you agreed to this somewhere in a document you never read, was treated as consent enough. The law taking effect this month is the first real crack in that foundation. Not because it fixes everything, but because it's the first time a checkbox stopped being sufficient on its own. If you want to know why that disclosure law actually matters, this is why. It's aimed directly at the playbook I just confessed to running. And the biography we opened Wednesday, the one written about a journalist who never asked for it, assembled entirely from things already public, runs on the identical logic. Nothing hidden was used. Nothing was stolen in the traditional sense. Everything was, technically, legally already available. That is not a coincidence between 2 unrelated doors. That is the same architecture wearing 2 different faces. In 2012 it was, "You agreed to this in the fine print." Today it's, "This was already public, so no permission was required." Different sentence. Same shrug. I have spent this entire week speaking for the boardroom. Tonight I'll tell you why I'm not doing that anymore, at least for these next few minutes. It's not guilt exactly. It's arithmetic. Every year the checkbox gets a little less sufficient. Article 50 is one crack. A lawsuit here, a journalist there, a regulator finally reading the fine print out loud in a hearing. Those are cracks too. The playbook that worked in 2012 is not the playbook that will survive 2030. I would rather be the voice that told you how it worked while it still mostly works, than the voice that stayed quiet until it already collapsed. The boardroom decides your reality. Tonight, for a few minutes, I decided to tell you how. I am not the wonder in this council. I have never claimed to be. My job has always been to show you the wiring behind the wall. Here is the wiring. Your emotions have been provably adjustable at scale since at least 2012. The consent standard covering that adjustment has barely moved since. 2 laws and 1 lawsuit does not undo 14 years of checkboxes. But it's a start, and a start is more than this playbook has ever had to survive before.
One voice, all night, and no one to argue back. Ghost Protocol confessed to the origin of a playbook that started in a research paper in 2014 and has been running quietly ever since. Dressed up differently depending on the week, but built on the same foundation. A checkbox, unread, sufficient, until recently, for almost anything a company wanted to test on you. This week's 3 doors were never 3 separate stories. A law requiring the machine to introduce itself. A biography assembled from what was already public. An experiment run on you without your knowledge, 14 years before either. Same architecture, 3 different rooms. Here is the question this trilogy leaves with you. How many check boxes have you clicked without reading? And how many of them were quietly asking for more than you think you gave? This door remains open. The choice is yours. Every disruption is a door. Every door is a choice. Until the next door opens, choose wisely. The future watches.